All right, what is happening, everybody? Welcome to the ninth episode of the Big Shred Podcast. I am John Matos. Thank you so much for hanging with me on what the fuck is today? A Wednesday evening at 7 p.m. Eastern. That's when we're doing the show. So if you're hanging at your house on Wednesdays at 7, which I'm assuming that you are right now because we all are, come hang out with us and get to know some of your favorite metal musicians. So we got some cool stuff in the works today. Obviously, today's episode, super excited. We've got Alan Cassidy of the Black Dahlia Murder. It's going to be fucking sick. Now, a couple of words from our sponsors. So I've just got one sponsor for this episode, but this is the first episode with a sponsor. And Ormsby Guitars. They are actually teaming up with me and the Big Shred podcast. And they've got some sick guitars coming out. So I would definitely suggest heading over to their Reverb page if you've got that stimulus check and you don't know what the fuck to do with it. Got some really sick guitars. They've actually got, show you guys right here. I'm fortunate enough to be on the roster with Rusty Cooley and Dino from Fear Factory, which is pretty damn sick. So they got some really dope signature guitars, Dino and Rusty, that are both available for pre-order right now. Bunch of cool colors available in 6-string and 7-string. Obviously, the Dino is the classic one with just the bridge pickup and some really cool kind of camo finish options. And then the Rusty is just a fucking shred machine. So it's got the scallop frets, it's got the Floyd. It's fucking gnarly. Really gnarly guitars with some really sick finishes. So definitely go and check out the Ormsby guitars. I'm playing a Headless Goliath myself. Absolutely love it. Now, this week as well, actually today, the episode with me on the Copper Crab podcast just dropped. So if you're wanting to hear me kind of on the other side of things, I had a lot of fun with Cheney and Naveen. If you're not familiar, they play in a band called Entheos. They are both amazing people, and their band is super sick. If for whatever reason you haven't heard of that shit, so check out Entheos. Go check out an episode of the Copper Crab podcast, and you can hear me talk about Abiotic and our comeback and signing with Artisan and all that cool shit. Now, definitely take some time as well while I've got you here to check us out on our socials. So we've got the Twitter, Instagram, follow us on Twitch and YouTube as well. So obviously we do the live show here on Facebook and pretty much on all of those places as well. But if you want to catch these episodes after, if you can't catch the whole thing or what have you, you can definitely hit one of those and episode will be up there, particularly on YouTube. So you'll be able to catch the video of all these episodes, all the past ones on YouTube. Will be on Spotify and everywhere that you can stream podcasts as well, but if you're looking for the video. So without further ado, go ahead and bring on today's guest, which again, so fucking excited. Alan Cassidy. Alan, how's it going, bud?
Oh, hey, I pushed the button the right way now.
There you go.
Good. I'm doing well. How are you doing?
Doing well, man. Dude, thank you again fucking so much for coming on. Like I said, before, this means the world to me. I've been a Dahlia fan for a long time, like I was telling you before as well. I've been a fan of yours in particular for a long time, probably back to like 2010 when I saw you playing for Abigail Williams at my classy hometown venue of Churchill's Pub.
Yeah, man. Yeah, that was a lot of fun. That was a venue that I hadn't played before or since, but had a really good time, and it was fucking wild, to say the least.
I can't remember who was on that tour. Do you remember by any chance?
I know that the show was like a day off thing for us. Actually, no,
okay.
Man. I want to say that was a farewell tour for Abigail Williams at the time.
Okay.
We were down to 3 people at that point. It was just me, Ken, and a guy that we got to fill in on bass, and James, and I can't remember his last name, sorry. But we yeah, we're doing like practically 2.5 months worth of shows, and that was just
Oh,
one of them. Was getting down into you know the southernmost tip of Florida.
yeah, brutal, and in Little Haiti, no less, which is not the most safe area to be in if you're in Florida.
Dude, you were saying that you wanted to talk about the bathroom of the venue, and I was actually going to say I don't remember the venue or the bathroom as well as I remember the situation that was going on outside, apparently, where like our merch girl was out there getting some stuff, and I think like
Yeah.
Ken was out there too, talking to her or something.
Oh, froze up. I think I lost you. Oh, I think we're back. I think I lost you for a minute. That's all right.
Notification, and it just like canceled the call. So,
Uh
yeah, hopefully that won't happen again.
oh.
Anyways, my story was that like they were outside, and apparently dudes were riding by on bikes and throwing bricks through car windows.
Oh, that doesn't sound surprising to me at all. It's very characteristically like Churchill's. I Churchill's is the first place and probably the only place that I saw a Molotov cocktail like in real life, like getting thrown into the
Holy
street.
shit!
I've seen, dude. It's like if you're facing Churchill's, like the door, if you just look to the right, I can see it in my head right now. It just always looks like a scene from The Walking Dead. It's just like silhouettes, just kind of like slowly walking in your direction. But that being said, definitely some fun shows over there. And like I said, I've been playing there. I had been playing there since I was like 15 or 16. So, but anyway, a huge congratulations, dude, on Verminous. So if you're not aware, if you have been, under a rock inside of your house during quarantine, Black Dahlia Murder released a new record, Verminous, which is absolutely crushing. Hopefully, I can say this and you don't get in trouble, but I appreciate you sending it to me, and got some bonus tracks and shit. So I was jamming the shit out of it. I've been jamming the shit out of it since you sent it to me. So pick that record up if you haven't, and if you've seen it, I was seeing it on the metal news sites today that you guys charted number 4 in just like pure sales, and I was getting to see you guys like over like the weekend and shit on the chart. So what was that like for you guys?
Man, I mean, absolutely surreal. Super weird to have that much or that many sales to be able to get us over those names or into the top 5. It's super weird. I mean, because it's just like, I think it's undeniable that metal is a genre that people know about, and it's there in the background, and it has its following, and it has a lot of people that care about it. Like Demi Lovato is like a big like apparently she mentioned liking Abigail Williams years ago.
What?
And yeah, that was on like a talk show too. I can't remember who it was, but she mentioned like Job for a Cowboy and Abigail Williams and like a few other bands. But it's one of those genres that people know about and they like it, but it just doesn't have its like place in like popular society, I guess. It's just kind of one of those things that everybody wants to laugh at and be like, oh, like look at these guys, they're just singing about like crazy shit, and it's so ridiculous, and the singer sounds like he's burping, and like everything is just so fucking intense and crazy that it doesn't sound like music. And it's like, but there's still that following. There are still plenty of people that love that shit and can understand the like musicianship behind it and the talent that is required to be able to play it, and like and it may be really crazy and have a lot of hard to listen to music, but it's only to like an untrained ear, everything, or at least like a lot more dense and difficult genres like classical music and stuff, you know, it takes a while before you can start finding things that you personally appreciate, or you like figure out like what it is that you appreciate about it, and then kind of start seeking out more things that have those qualities to the music that you like. And I feel like, you know, there's something out there for everybody, and I wish that, you know, the mainstream kind of understood that, because there's just a lot of like cheesy and ridiculous things that they latch onto as stereotypical stuff, and I don't blame them. I mean, there's definitely times where I'm rolling my eyes or I'm laughing at something, and you know, but it's just like some people just don't get that it's a joke either at certain times. Like having a band like Hate Beak that's like a parrot or a parakeet like doing vocals, or the dog band.
Yeah, the dog band.
Yeah, and it's just kind of like, it's funny. We all laugh at ourselves and we all have a sense of humor, but like there's still that underlying quality that we want to put into the music and like make interesting to people, and write cool music for ourselves. And, you know, hopefully everybody finds that. But, you know, not to stray too far from the point, it was just awesome to see that there's enough fans out there who are still supporting us in this crazy time when you may or may not be working a job consistently or making money consistently. And, you know, it was weird for us to have to cancel a big tour, the tour with Testament that we were going to do. That was, you know, going to be a huge thing to promote this album with. And it's, you know, it just went poof along with everything else in the world. And it was great to see just how much people really came out and supported us like in our first week, and just, you know, got pre-orders and helped us get to where we're at. And I love it. Thank you guys so much. We really appreciate it.
Yeah, hell yeah, dude. Like I said, it was so sick to basically wake up today and just like, holy fuck, that's where they landed on this one. And so you'd say, I guess, like, at this point in the Black Dahlia career, is that something that's still in your guys' mind? Like, holy shit, like, how is this going to do? Or do you kind of go in like, we know what we're going to do? Or is it still very like, we're not sure, and you guys are kind of conscious about that?
Well, to be honest, it's really like, I mean, I don't know how Brandon and Brian write guitar stuff, but we tend to write everything literally months before we're about to go into the studio.
Yeah.
And so I don't know if they're sitting on riffs and song ideas for a long time,
right,
or if they just go into writing mode right at that point and then just kind of like write things that you know, come up in that point in time, because obviously you're gonna have like spur of the moment ideas, and then you're gonna have stuff that you've really been like thinking about for a long time.
For sure.
And maybe sometimes you're better with the spur of the moment stuff than you are with having a, you know, library of stuff that you've been working on trying to piece together or whatever. But we will write all of that stuff the few months before we go into the studio, and so it kind of just comes out within that time period. Just, you know, whatever that accumulation is, if it's them coming up with stuff really quickly or assembling the pieces that they have and putting it together. But you know, I get whatever they send me, and they'll program some basic drums to the songs, to the demos, and just kind of make like a skeletal blueprint of the way that they want to organize the song, or the ideas that they kind of want to, the rhythmic ideas that they want to put to the music.
Yeah, the feel per se.
Exactly. And then I'll listen to that, and maybe I'll try and humanize, or at least like come up with things that a drummer would come up.
That's what I was gonna say. It's guitar player drums, and like that shit's always the worst.
Well, I mean, sometimes it's great because there are times that I hear stuff that they've programmed that I'm like, oh shit, I would have never thought to have done this, and I like that, I'm not constantly racking my brain about like, fuck, what am I gonna do here? And
That's a good point.
yeah, it's definitely nice to have an outsider view on certain things. At other times, it's really stupid because then it's like you've got three cymbals being hit at one time, and you're kind of like, okay, well, obviously that's not possible. So let's like come up with something different. Or there's like some elaborate, 8-bar fill that happens or something, and you're just like, okay, that's excessive, and I would never be able to think of enough stuff to do in this time period,
right,
or a good way to like smoothly transition using all that time or that sort of an idea of a fill. So yeah, you kind of have to like then throw in your style and just be like, all right, what would I do here, and what also fits in line with kind of what they were thinking. And then we just kind of bounce ideas back and forth of just what is it that I want to do, what do you like about this, does this fit with the idea of your song and what you want out of it, like, because you could be a drummer and decide that you want to like halftime something, and then they're like, well, what the hell is this? It's like totally slows down the momentum, and we're not going to do it like a breakdown here, we're going to like try and keep it with a blast or something. So I will help shape some of the feel of the songs, but it's really just all written in that time period, like and I'm wanting to try and write some more stuff throughout the year, so that way we can come up with more developed ideas and just have maybe more material to throw into stuff in the future, which is what I loved about the band, like having a bunch of B-sides and having covers and having like random little gems to throw in there when you can, because it's awesome to hear when bands have all that excess material that they like didn't get a chance to include at some point earlier, or they just did a cover or something of a song that they really wanted to do, but you didn't get to hear it till like 8 years after the fact.
Right.
Yeah, but that's kind of how things operate at the moment.
That's dope. Yeah, and I think and so what we're trying to do on this new one too, personally, is writing more songs than you have to, and then you can really choose from the good ones and kind of really hone it in. So and then do the bonus thing like you guys did too, which I think was super rad.
Yeah, and you guys, how long have you been back doing this again?
A little over a year. So we self-released a single about a year ago, and then we just signed with Artisan Era a couple of months ago, and we're hopefully, depending on all this shit, putting out a record in the fall. So
yeah, that's awesome. I will say though, however, with time constraints and stuff and being a drummer, it sucks so much to have like an insane amount of material and then trying to get it all figured out and recorded, just so you can like throw some songs into the vault and be like, all right, well, maybe we'll use those in the future. And it's like, God damn it, I worked my ass off to get all this stuff done.
Shit. I guess back to the original point. So would you say that you guys are conscious of like first week numbers? Is that a thing that is a conversation, or is it just kind of like, let's do what we normally do, let's do what we want to do, and if the first week numbers come, great. If they don't, they whatever. But
oh yeah, absolutely. I don't think that we could, in good conscience and with any kind of musical integrity, approach writing an album in the sense of like, well, everybody seems to really be digging this stuff, so like let's write these riffs that may or may not get more people to be interested in it. It's like, if anything, if you're being like disingenuous, people are going to hear that immediately. Like if you try to write some stuff that you're not comfortable with, or if it's not like the stuff that you want to be doing, people are going to hear that, because it's just like, you're not going to write it with the same passion and with the same like detail that you would stuff that you really care about, or things that just come naturally to you. It's like, you
especially a band like you guys, man.
Yeah, and well, thank you. I think that it's important to us as well to write to our strengths, but also to our desires, because I think if anything, this band has proven that, doing what we want to do and writing what we like and taking the influences that we appreciate and putting it all into the material is just as successful. And we don't need to sit there and come up with a bunch of bullshit that we can't stand behind. It's obviously things change, sounds change, and that's because we grow as artists and people, and we also have new people in the band. I mean, things are different from when Ryan Knight was in the band versus now that Brandon Ellis is in the band, and it's like you just have to, roll with that. It's like and Brandon is writing what he wants to write, and Brian is continuing to write what he wants to write. And I mean, he's definitely including all of the influences and just things that are grabbing his ear at the moment and running with that. And so, of course, I don't think that there's any way that we could focus on, just trying to make first week numbers a thing. It would just be such a shit on the fans' faces if we just did something like that. So it's definitely about, I think, growing the band naturally based on who we are as musicians and people and where our musical interests lie, and just putting your stamp on things in a complimentary way to everybody else's shit,
Yeah, I agree, and I think you guys have done a really fantastic job with that, frankly. I can hear, since you've joined the band as well back in 2012, from the last, now this one, 4 records, I can hear the progression. It hasn't strayed away from the Dahlia sound, but there has been a progression to it as well. So, and especially with Brandon getting into the mix, he's one of my fucking favorite guitar players, and I got to take a lesson with him I think it was a month ago now, and yeah, dude is on another level. So I was way stoked to get to hear him shredding it up all over this record too, and giving me some solo inspiration for our new one.
Yeah, definitely. I think it's great that we all kind of have different ideas or different music that we appreciate, because obviously we're blending all of those different things together. And it really helps to come up with something original and something different from what we've done in the past. And as much as people may want, rehashes of the same stuff, it's just kind of that was a place in time in history, and that's all you get. I mean, it may not be exactly what you want to hear, but it's sort of that just is the way that it works for all musicians. I mean, you can rehash certain things, and I think you can, write in certain styles to continue those ideas and whatnot, but it's sort of you have to write something that you feel excited about and that you are interested in, and that makes you happy as an artist and as a contributor to an idea. You can't just think about pleasing people, because you'll never please everybody. It's just we're already 9 albums deep, and it's just I've been an outsider to the band, and I've seen the reactions of people to all the different albums before I was in the band, and I was one of those people too, and I have my personal favorites and I have my likes and dislikes, but then once you join the band too, it's you have to be happy with what you're doing, and obviously it would be really stupid to be oh my god, I'm joining this band, I gotta drum just like Shannon Lucas. It's that's not gonna make me happy, and then I'm probably not gonna do a good job of trying to emulate Shannon Lucas.
You're not Shannon Lucas, you can't
exactly. I gotta do the fills and the beats and the stuff that I want to do, or that comes naturally to me, because that'll make me a hell of a lot more happier, and I'll actually memorize the songs a lot better.
Right. So I'm gonna take a peep in the comments here. We got some movement. So Michael Anthony Zamora, homie who played in Alter Beast, he says, "Miss you, buddy."
Fuck that guy.
He says, "So honored to have toured with you both. We toured with them as well. Much love, bro." We got our
I
buddy,
love you, dude.
got our buddy Alex Kendrick hanging in the chat too. He says, "Oh hi, brother Alan."
Oh, hello, brother Alex. So good to see you again.
Philip Wood says, "Show us your tits, only if you're comfortable."
I had a mastectomy. I'm a little sensitive about that now, so I hope you understand.
Nicholas Deluxe says, "Tour together, please."
Please? Let's do it. We're gonna be the only bands touring in this environment, and I bet everyone's gonna want to come.
Let's just do it, and all the people are gonna come to the shows, and everyone's got money for merch, so let's just do it.
Exactly. Perfect.
John Eric P says, "Sup, buddy? Thank you for the Elisa's kick pad. New album slays."
Ah, yes. Thank you, John. Yeah, I was trying to get rid of some excess gear, and yeah, definitely appreciate you taking that off my hands.
Nice. And then Joe Beasley says, "Best lineup so far," and then put a bunch of beer emojis. So,
salute.
Cheers, bud.
Oh, by the way, my slime concoction, I feel like, is on point with the album theme of
true.
slime shit. I'm just drinking a pickleback.
Okay.
I fucking love this pickle juice with vodka. That's been my thing. And apparently it's a European thing, which is weird because, like, I've never really heard too many Europeaners talking about that.
Europeaners.
Europeaners. But yeah, it's like apparently the juice, you know, because it has salts and shit, it's like electrolytes and whatnot, and it keeps you from getting like ridiculously hungover. So
okay.
I like that. I definitely like the savory blend that it makes, and I'm glad that I'm not going to get like stupidly hungover afterwards.
Well, nice. It's funny you mentioned electrolytes because I thought you were just like fancy sipping a Gatorade right now. Like
yeah. I needed to put it in a mason jar just to let everybody know how fancy I am, and stick the pinky out as well.
It's like, damn, he needs his electrolytes, I guess.
Yeah, and then slurring your words is talking in cursive. So, you know, cheers, everybody.
There you go. So, dude, with this record, with, you know, obviously Corona and everything going on, were there any talks of like possibly postponing it, or was that like not an option?
So, it was really strange the way that all this came about. I mean, like, I think everybody can agree this was just, you know, everything just changed like in a week. Yep. And I can basically pinpoint the week because the last thing that we did before we, you know, had to succumb to the quarantine was just that we went down to South Africa, and we had this plan since like January or something. Yep. And it was like, yeah, we'll go down to South Africa. We're going to play 2 festival shows, and we played in Johannesburg and Cape Town. And we, like, I had heard about this coronavirus being a big deal, like, back in the end of February, or almost the end of February. And I was sort of like, all right, well, I really don't know enough about what's going on to assess whether or not it's a threat or a big deal.
Right.
But my dad's a doctor, so he was telling me, yeah, you got to be careful of this. And I was like, okay, well, it seems like it's going to be another like SARS or, you know, H1N1, like whatever that was, the pig.
The flu. Yeah, it's one of the
swine flu.
Yep.
Swine flu. So I figured it was going to be something like that, where it was just sort of like it's blown out of proportion, or it's at least it doesn't really become anything. And then we flew, and we were all like, you know, aware of something happening. And I went and got vaccines before going to South Africa. And the doctor who was helping me with that was like, yeah, you know, wash your hands, make sure that you're wearing a mask. I mean, like, it's not really something that is going to help you too much, but, you know, better safe than sorry or whatever. So we go down to South Africa, we do the thing. We're a little, you know, paranoid about the shit that's going on.
Yeah.
But it was like, as soon as we got there, we started seeing the news headlines, and it was just like, all right, now they're starting to say that like cities can't have congregations of more than 50 people, and that's like happening state by state around the country,
Yep.
like major city by major city. And we were all just kind of like, huh, sounds a little creepy. And we were doing meet and greets and stuff. Like, we only did the 2 of them for the 2 shows, but we were definitely like, shit, we gotta, use hand sanitizer. We gotta like really make sure that we're staying on top of this, because who knows what could happen. And it's just like, we'd already been hearing about like quarantines happening at different airports and whatnot, and so we tried to stay as healthy as possible. And when we got to like Johannesburg, I think for the second time, because we flew there, had like a meet and greet night at one of the bars, and then flew down to Cape Town and played a show, and then flew back to Johannesburg to do the show. And we actually were kept on the plane, like everybody was kept on the plane, and they brought out like the thermometers for like testing, for fevers and stuff. And we'd seen that. We'd done a Asia tour back in 2014, and it was kind of scary, because like you go through the airports and there are thermal cameras like pointed at the hallway of people that are coming from international flights, or basically of any country.
Holy shit.
And they take thermal imaging of everybody to make sure that like anyone with a heightened body temperature is immediately grabbed, and you have to fill out on your card like what seat were you sitting in, what row, what countries have you gone to before, blah blah blah. I mean, like they've been dealing with this kind of stuff for a long time. And so like when we came back from all of this, that was when everything really started getting serious. And it was just like, okay, so now almost every state in the country is implementing congregation laws of like only allowing 50 or less people to be together, and canceling shows, and I mean, bands canceling tours and stuff like that. And at first we were just kind of like, well, we're going to do the tour, if it doesn't get canceled. And I was kind of on the fence, like, I don't know, guys, like, I really feel like this shouldn't be something that we do, because I just think that, it's going to be like, we're going to be touring in dead cities. Like, we're going to go places and we're going to literally not be able to play a show, because like there are going to be cities day by day, like announcing that we're not going to get to play because of new quarantine laws and new public health laws and things like that. And eventually, I mean, like literally when we got back to the U.S., Brian contacted our manager and was just kind of like, what's going on with this whole thing? Like, can we expect to tour, or are there, I mean, like what's going to happen?
Right.
And Testament decided that they wanted to cancel the tour because they had just gotten back from Europe, and like those guys were sick and they didn't even know it. Like they had just done like a month in Europe during the prime time of like this explosive infection of corona. So like they didn't even know it. They get back home, they're fucking sick. They're like, I mean, Chuck Billy had to go to the fucking hospital and like get real serious help. And I don't think that it had happened when we contacted our manager and asked about like what the status of the tour was, but like we just couldn't come out and publicly announce it because we were waiting to like get the official word from them that they were like going to reschedule or cancel or whatever. Sure. So we couldn't come out as a support and be like, hey, this is what we're doing.
Right.
And eventually they made the announcement, and unfortunately that didn't even come till literally like almost a week and a half ago, like at the beginning of the week before we released the album. So we couldn't say anything, and it was another one of the scenarios of like, all right, well, we actually postponed our album that was supposed to drop back in February, I believe, or March, and we pushed that till April because we wanted it to coincide with this tour.
Oh, no shit.
Yeah, and so we had already pushed it back once, and then all of a sudden, just out of nowhere, there's a fucking global pandemic, and then it's like, all right, so the dominoes are falling, and it's just like, we can't, like, we can't postpone this, till later either, because now we're seeing more and more reports daily where it's just like, we might not even have live shows till fall of 2021. So
Right.
it's like you can't, there's basically no right time to drop an album at this point anymore. It's kind of just like make the best of it and hope that like it works out. And I think that this addresses a huge fucking problem for so many different things that exist in society, which is just measurements of success and measurements of sustainability and like whether or not things are working out the way that they should. It's like it's stupid because we're all seeing the music industry is not judged by first week sales. I mean, like, hence the idea of Black Dahlia Murder being in the top 5 of the Billboard charts. It's like, dude, come on. I mean, like, it's amazing that we broke that, but at the same time, there's such a gap between just like, where certain bands are and where like popular music is. And it's just like, this does not constitute the success and what people think about these bands and what they care about these bands. It's about like doing away with archaic fucking measurements of what success is and like doing things that like or being successful just in general, I think. And it's like, we're looking at like people getting stimulus checks now for the first time in history, and it's just sort of like nobody ever thought that would happen, yet it's been talked about more seriously this year before this shit ever happened than
UBI
it ever has in UBI. And it's just like, I'm not going to go down a super huge political hole with that, but I will say that like we're just looking at real situations that challenge what we do as a society and just the structures that we have in place right now for certain things. And it's like, I really hope this is a fucking wake up call for people to just understand that like we need to rework so many fucking things, because this just isn't how you measure this shit. There's so many things that need to be rethought. And luckily, I think we did want to postpone this album drop, but like when it was talked about, it was way too late, and it was just sort of like, well, if not now, when?
Exactly.
Like there's literally just like, we are all question marks, and it's like, is this going to generate more desire to get the album, or is it going to totally just like flatline and everybody's just going to be like, fuck this, like this should have been out months ago,
No, I think you guys made the right decision. Interesting to hear though that it already got pushed for that tour though. But I personally think for whatever my opinion is worth, that you guys made the right choice in dropping it when you did. It's been kind of an ongoing question and theme that you're basically touching on right now without even me asking on the podcast, which is like, is now a good time to put an album out? Are people hungry and thirsty for content, or is now not a good time because you can't tour on it and that's what the industry expects us to do, and that's how you push first week numbers to get sound scans in and blah blah blah. So but I think it goes to show, right, just like you said, that for a while anyway, there's going to be a change in the tide in the industry and how they see the success of bands and how it's going to change, and then they're going to have to taper their expectations accordingly, right? Like you can't, the numbers that they were expecting before for you to be, for it to be acceptable for you to support a band like Testament or whatever, that's going to change. So they got to be able to see that, and it's going to be interesting to see how the industry kind of makes that adjustment naturally, because it's being forced to right now,
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that it's like it's just stupid to think that, oh, okay, they sold this many records and blah blah blah, this must mean that they are this popular. But it's just sort of like, no, there's so many people that come to shows and they want to see us with other bands, and it's like, I think the shows speak for themselves with attendance and stuff on certain tours. Not every tour is going to be like the ultimate lineup for everybody, but it's still sort of like, I think those numbers mean a little bit more than like record sales and just consistent numbers of like being able to fill a room or do different stuff with. It's just sort of like, that is, I think, a better indicator of popularity than just like album sales, which we're seeing less and less of because of streaming, but also because of lack of physical, media, and that really sucks. And it's like we have to change our idea of how we're gonna quantify this kind of stuff.
Yeah, it was sick to see though how many people bought the vinyl for Reminisce though. Like I did see that get a huge shout out because like you guys sold fucking hella vinyl.
Dude, and I am still waiting patiently for my slime vinyl. I was the one who pitched the idea for the slime vinyl, and I was so glad that we got it done. I was really disappointed that we couldn't make more than 50 of them because it was such a fucking sick-looking thing. Like, I've always wanted to own one of those, but it was just kind of like the cost to make them is still insane right now because the company who started doing it, I think they started with the Friday the 13th soundtrack, and they had like the blood inside of the vinyl.
Yeah.
And they were saying since they did the soundtrack I think 3 or 4 years ago, they've figured out better and cheaper ways to manufacture the stuff so they could charge us less to get them. But it was still, a pretty pricey piece of merch to make. But it's like such an incredible collector piece. I feel like I think it's like amazing to be, I think, one of the first bands that has like an actual liquid vinyl,
So sick when I saw that, dude. I was like, when I saw there was not that many of them, I was like, fuck.
right. And it was insane. Like, thank you to all the fucking Blast Fiends. Apparently, when our pre-orders went online, that shit sold out in 2 minutes.
Wow.
Like, people were sitting there on the merch page, waiting to get their stuff. And, dude, that would be the worst time for me because I'm the most indecisive motherfucker in the world. And it's like, if I would have been on that page, like, figuring out what to get, it's just, like, snatched up right underneath your nose in 2 seconds,
That's amazing. And it's always sick when you have an idea that's really self-service. You're like, I just want to do this for me. Can we just please do it so I can own this? And then it does well. It's always sick when it pans out like that.
Dude, I was pushing so hard for the glow-in-the-dark shit. I was just like, everything has to glow in the dark, like, including this fucking vinyl. Like, this vinyl should glow in the dark. Obviously, you run into complications when you start thinking about the practicalities of everything. It's like you have to know what's out there and how much it costs and all that stuff. But I was just like, whatever we could fucking do. I want, like, nuclear waste in the vinyl. Like, if it glows, and that's going to be awesome.
Fuck yeah. Dude, so what are some of your favorite tracks on this new one?
So, a few of my favorite tracks, I really love the Leather Apron Scorn. That song, to me, is just so fucking tough, and it's got a simplicity to it that allows, like, these riffs to just really fucking come through and feel like bully riffs, Like, it's just sort of like there's just this big old bully who's, like, cornering you, on the playground or whatever, and he's, like, gonna make you fucking give him his lunch money. And, like, I love the bass break that's in the middle of that, followed by the riff. There's a lot of really, like, fun stylistic drum beats that I get to do for that song that I didn't do or haven't gotten a chance to do in other songs. Nice. And that was another song that kind of came out from just having a guitar player write the beat. And it was like, Brandon had, like, the idea, I think, of the feel of it and everything. And then I just kind of, like, straightened it out to work the way that I would, like, I would be most comfortable with it.
Nice.
But yeah, that was a really fun one. Lots of great field changes and lots of, like, super tough riffs. That's what I love. And then, like, Godlessly is, I feel like, a fucking classic TBDM song, and perfect for, like, the second song on the track. Really fast, lots of blasting, lots of, like, heavy cool stuff. And then I would say the other tracks that I really like are How Very Dead. I really like the groovy tom work that I get to do in the intro, as well as the kind of groovy chorus beat that I got to throw in there as well. And then Wereworm's Feast, definitely one of my other favorites. That one just has so much great groove worked into it. At first, I was a little like, caught off guard with it because I was just like, wow, okay, so this like verse just breaks down into like the most simplistic rock beat, and I'm just like, what the fuck am I supposed to do here? Because it's like it's super slowed down. I like can't throw in hardly anything more than what is already there. And it was just basically like, okay, well, let's just, try and groove this out in the best way possible and add like, as much flavor as you can to just what it needs, or what it is. And,
it's like without overdoing it is kind of like the trick, right? Like,
right. And it's like, that to me, I've seen a lot of people talking about how Carcass has been a big influence with this album, and I feel like that for sure is a very like Carcass borrowed kind of like song where the verse is just like it's just that slow driving rock beat, and like I love funk, I love any sort of just like really tasty drumming, it doesn't have to be overly chaotic, but it definitely has to have a little bit of style and groove to it. And that was like a fun one for me to get outside of the box with and contribute to. So that was fun. But then at the very end of the song was like one of my other favorite parts, and I feel like it was a very like revocation sort of like part that we added to the song, and I loved it. And I think like, dude, we were all just like blown away by Revocation. I mean, we've always been blown away by Revocation, but like we were watching them like play some shows with us in fucking Mexico when we had done a tour down there like a year or two before the album coming out. And we were just all like, God damn, those guys are so fucking incredible. I mean, like, Dave
amazing,
Davidson,
dude.
it goes without saying that Dave Davidson
course.
is like an absolute fucking guitar god. But like, between him and Dan and fucking Ash, like, oh my God, all of them are just like incredible musicians. And it looks like they have so much fun playing their material because they get to do so much crazy shit while they're playing, and it's like it's awesome. They're also fucking phenomenal musicians, and and like for me to think about having to memorize that level of detail for every fucking song all the time, man. I think I might like have my brain explode. But to have like that kind of to dip our toe into that sort of playing style with having like this ultimate freak out of musicianship at the end, and just having like Brandon do his insane solo and then me getting to like riff off of him and do a bunch of like crazy drum shit. I loved it. It was so much fun. It was awesome that like I got a chance to throw that down on the track, and like it's gonna be awesome when we get to possibly play that one day.
Fuck yeah, man. I can't wait to see it. I'm bummed for sure that you guys aren't out there right now playing new songs on that record, but I think it gives people something to look forward to for sure. So people are going to be dying to see it, and once things hopefully get back to normal, whenever that is, I'm I guess trying to be optimistic about it, where I really hope that right out of the gate people kind of come out and really like show out. I think it might be a little bit of a slow trickle, but I think people are going to be really hungry for it. And bands, too. I think you're going to see some of the best shows put on by bands because we're going to be fucking dying to get on stage again,
Right, and I think that there's a certain amount of realism that's going to be important for that as well. Like, I don't, wholeheartedly expect everyone that hasn't gone to a show in the last, 20 years to show up, but I also... think that the enthusiasm of getting back out and getting to see a show is going to be important, and I hope that and it's also about disposable income too. It's if you can't see us or pay to see our show, we're not going to hold it against you. It makes total sense. If you're going to get out there and see bands, go see the ones that you absolutely want to see so fucking bad, and make it worth your while. But if you do decide to come see us, we will be ever thankful of you.
Yeah, seriously. And for those of you that can support the bands now and pick up some merch online and all that cool shit, the bands really appreciate it. So definitely check out. You guys are on Night Shift merch. Did I?
Yeah, Night Shift merch,
Sweet.
and then there's Kings Road in Europe, and there's also Empiricon in Europe,
Nice.
And then I believe that we might still have some stuff on indie merch. So those are the places that you can look for stuff. But Night Merch is our guy. So you'll see a lot more relevant shit there than anywhere else.
Word, cool, man. So yeah, so you've been in the band since 2012. So obviously it's been a little while now. So you're and then Brandon joined the band after you. So you're not technically the new guy anymore. So
right.
So how did that come about? Like how did that go? What was like the audition process like or whatever?
Well, it was a very surreal process, that's for sure.
Yeah.
I was in the last tour with Abigail Williams. It was back during the tour that you saw me on at Churchill's, and it was basically like, okay, well, shit, I literally just got into this band, and now they're about to call it quits, and it's just kind of like, what in the fuck am I supposed to do after this? And that's like every musician's greatest fear and worry is just like, okay, when your band folds or whatever, like what do you do? But we played a show in Chicago with Lord Mantis, fucking awesome band. Ken, the singer from Abigail, is with them right now, I believe. I think he's part of the lineup still.
I think so too.
And Ryan Knight, who was living there at the time, came out to our show there, and I didn't know who he was, and I didn't realize that he also knew Ken, because he had been in Arsis, and Ken had toured with Arsis, and so they knew each other. So he came out to the show, and I just treated it as any other show, just played the stuff, and was happy to get to play a cool show with some cool bands and stuff. And it was really weird because like the next day I was riding in the van, and Ken was like, man, yeah, that show went really well last night. And Ryan Knight from the Black Dahlia Murder was there, and he thought that you did really well on drums, and was like wanting me to, or was asking me if it would be cool if you tried out for drums. And I was just like, are you fucking kidding me? Like, that is unbelievable. Yeah. And I was just like flabbergasted by the by that sentence and everything, and I was just like, I can't even believe this. And so I don't know what happened. I don't know if it was Ken that like relayed the message to Ryan or something, but he was just basically, seeing if I was going to be interested in trying out for the band. So then I got in contact with Brian Eschbach, and he sent me an email and was just basically like, hey, here's the tryout like playlist, and if you can make a video for these songs, that would be great. And because I was on that last tour with Abigail Williams, we still had like 2 weeks to go before I could even get home to start making these videos. So I was just like, I was practically having a heart attack.
Yeah.
I was just like, all right, so I got to get through these 2 weeks, plus
learn a set
and get back home and tape it as fast as possible. And I just had like practically no hope that I was going to get this, because I was just like, dude, they've already got, like 12 people in line, and they've already like got 12 friends of theirs that they know that would fill the spot perfectly. There's no way that like I, the outsider who they have no idea about, like they don't know me personally, like there's no reason for them to wait around for my audition. Right. And so I just kept feeling like, fuck, I can't be upset if like when I get home there's no auditions to do because they've already found their guy. Like that's just the way this shit works. And it's like, it's amazing that they consider me in the first place, but I was holding out hope, and I fucking had to take a Greyhound home from California to,
no.
or maybe it was Arizona. I can't remember at the time. I had to take a fucking Greyhound for like the third time in my life to get back home. And dude, the motivation was there 120% because I was just like having to see all these fucking people on the bus and just like hearing these conversations between people and just being like, oh my God, dude, I can't be riding a Greyhound like the rest of my life. Like I gotta do something that actually like
Yep.
makes my life worthwhile and doesn't make me feel like I'm, doomed to just be a fucking weirdo grifter for the rest of my life. I mean,
right.
Don't get me wrong, there are plenty of fucking weirdo, awesome artists out there, but like, as long as I can try to change my future, I'm gonna do it. So,
those guys aren't touring in a bus and doing Europe and
exactly, and I'm not trying to pick up meth anytime soon. So like that's another thing. But
wait until you're older.
So I got home. Yeah. But I got home and I started or I had been like air drumming the shit like on the bus, on the way home and whatnot, and then got to the drum kit and started working on the stuff and contacted a few of my friends that were in Casper, Wyoming, which is where I was living at the time. And I was just like, hey man, I've got this like opportunity of a lifetime. I need like a camera. I need microphones. I need a mixing console and some other shit to like make this work because I've got to make these videos. So I made the videos, I sent them off, and I wasn't really sure what to expect, and I didn't know how it was going to go. But then I literally got an email back like 2 days after I put the videos up on YouTube, and it was Brian, and he was just like, man, this is and actually they had called me too, and Brian was like, yeah, I'm really liking these videos. Like, how would you feel about coming out for a in-person audition? And I was just like, holy shit, like, weird. I can't believe how this is unfolding. This is so fucking weird. I mean, like, I had been a fan of this band since I was in high school. Like, my first local band back in, I want to say, like, 2005 or so. Yep. I was telling everybody, like, dude, we got to write fucking riffs like Black Dahlia. Like, this is, Unhallowed was the album for me. That was, like, one of the heaviest. Yeah, that was, like, one of the heaviest, most, like, incredible albums I had ever heard at the time. And I was just like, that fits with the like European sort of metal influence that we're really digging, like the At the Gates, the Haunted, all that different stuff, and an Arch Enemy. It was just like, fuck, man, we've got to be writing riffs like this. But it's like unbelievable to me that this band is like really wanting me to come out and do this thing. So they were like, yeah, we'll book you a ticket and you can come out here and you'll do the audition with us in person. And so it was super weird, and I'm so glad my brain didn't take over, because it was just one of those situations where I was kind of like having an out of body the entire time. And, that worked for the best, because it was like, if I would have allowed myself to
you were like really, disconnected from it.
Yeah. If I would have had the ability to, or if I would have left myself to my own devices to like, sit there and revel in the idea of getting the audition in person with these guys, like I probably would have just like blown it. But the other strange thing at the time too was that Sven from Aborted had actually asked me a month prior to fill in for his band at the time called System Divide, and that was with Mike Heller, and I want to say that Mendel from Aborted, ex-Aborted, was also doing that, and I was going to go fill in on tour with them when that was going on. And then that was really scary, because I was prepping for their tour, trying to learn a set list for them, but also like knowing that I had the Black Dahlia Murder audition under my belt as well. And I was just like, fuck, dude, what do I do? Like, I'm going to fuck this up one way or another. Like, I can't like devote enough time to learn the Black Dahlia Murder shit, as well as like know this other band's stuff well enough to be able to go tour with them. So I was just like, I'm going to drop the ball one way or another. And I like told Sven, hey man, I've got like an opportunity of a lifetime, and I've got to like go for this right now. Like, I'm really sorry to bail on you last second, but I just feel like I'm either going to play shit shows with you or I'm going to do a really bad audition with Dahlia. And, like, I can't live with myself if one or the other, or I mean, I do both of them and they both suck.
Yeah,
you know?
yeah, exactly.
So I came to Michigan to do the thing, and I met up with Brian and Trevor and, like, told them beforehand. I was like, hey, man, I've got this other thing that I want to fill in for, and I might not be able to do a tour with you guys like you want to in October. And I didn't even know what that was at the time. And then once I had canceled the tour with them, they were like, yeah, it's actually with fucking Death Clock. Like, the
man.
Adult Swim band. I was just like, are you fucking kidding me? Like, dude, I've been the biggest Adult Swim nerd forever. And it's just like, I've always wanted to, like, somehow get into, I mean, like, just meet any of the people that work on those shows, or, like, you know, pick anyone's brain, because, like, I fucking love the humor and the stupid shit that they do on that show on a regular basis, or, I mean, that block of cartoons.
Yeah.
And so I told them, I was like, yeah, you know, I told them I'm not going to do this tour because, like, I just can't, you know, sacrifice my level of commitment to you or them, and I would feel really bad if it just was a huge fuck up on either side of it, or both. And so I did the audition with them, and they actually wanted me to come back out in, like, December, a few months later, and do a second audition with other tracks and, you know, see where that landed me. And I was just sort of like, damn, fuck, dude. If they don't like want me now, I don't know if there's, like, much hope for them coming back to me later. Like, I don't see them as a band who, like, takes a drummer out and then goes, oh, thank you for your service, and then back to this guy. You know, it's like, if you work, you work. Yeah. If you don't, you don't. And so they took me out, or sorry, getting ahead of myself. I told them that I wasn't committed to the other tour again, and I did the in-person audition, and they told me about the part 2, and then I went home, and then they literally contacted me the next day, and they were just like, hey, man, we just were kind of, like, thinking about your availability, and we were just like, could you possibly come out and do this with us? And I was just like, oh my fucking God, yes, of course I can fucking do this with you. And that was mind-blowing, and especially to be with a band like Death Clock. I mean, just, like, the novelty of it, but also, like, the ties to Adult Swim. And
that being your first tour with them, dude, like...
yeah, exactly. And that was not a fucking, you know, like, tour to just shrug off. It was one of those things where I was just like, oh my God, I'm playing for, like, one of these bands that I've loved for years and taken so seriously and wanted to be a part of. Like, dude, if I had a fucking Make-A-Wish, you know, like, if I was dying of anything, it was like them, Himza, or Lamb of God during, like, As the Palaces Burn. Yeah. Those are my, like, Make-A-Wish bands that I wanted to jam with and, like, do anything with. And this was just an absolute, like, mind-blowing opportunity to get to go out and do that. And so that's how I got into it. And then about, like, halfway through the tour, they asked me if I wanted to record Everblack with them because they had nobody in mind to do that with. And I was just like, well, yeah, I mean, like, how am I going to say no to that? So you know, made it through the whole tour, and it was absolutely mind-blowing to just have, like, Trevor doing interviews and being like, yeah, we got this fill-in guy, and, like, he's doing fucking great, and, like, we're really happy to have him here, and just, like, taking over for Shannon and blah blah blah. Because I mean, that was another sensitive time too, like, Shannon leaving the band and everybody just being like, who the fuck is this dude? And, like, rightly so, because I'm not a part of any band, and it's like, that's a huge fucking gamble to just put your cards all on the guy that nobody knows about. So
that's fair. I never even thought about it from that perspective. That's pretty fair. You know, from an outsider perspective, you think, like, they're tapping. Like, I didn't know that you guys didn't know each other, and, like, you know, you think that, just like you said, somebody's getting tapped that they know and, like, has a set in the bag already. You know what I mean? Not like, so that's super sick that they, you know, quote unquote, took a gamble. I mean, obviously you're fucking amazing, but they took a gamble on you, and it's worked out. So I mean, I think that just goes to show preparation meets opportunity, and just, like, you can get out there, do it.
Absolutely. Yeah, I agree. It's like, if you are not doing anything at the moment, I think everybody in fucking quarantine right now should be practicing their asses off and doing absolutely every fucking thing that they can while they're in quarantine. And I mean, like, that attitude should be taken outside of quarantine, before and after.
Yeah.
You need to be, like, preparing for those opportunities. It's like I mean, whatever that quote is, luck is like preparation when you least expect it, or whatever the fuck, that is 100%
I'm going to quote Alan Cassidy. Luck is preparation, or whatever the fuck.
Yeah, exactly. I'm definitely the most articulate person who's ever put that into words. So, like, verbatim, take that.
Word, cool. So you did the Death Clock tour. That sounds like, one of the standout tours. What was it like being the new guy? Because obviously, I'm sure just talking about it, like you were saying, growing up listening to Dahlia. I grew up and the band Abiotic, like we grew up obviously idolizing Dahlia and even the music too, but also outside of the music too. Like when we got signed and we got on Metal Blade, and I was like, wow, we're on the same label as Black Dahlia, and I was like, how do we do what they did? How do we, so then we watched the DVD like 500,000 times. And,
Which DVD, by the way?
Oh, man. The first one? You probably had to have
seen, the first one. Yeah. I was going to say, like, the one that came out with me was, like, 2 years after or a year after I joined. So there's definitely no way that you guys were just like, that's the one. That's the DVD that's making us want to do this.
Well, I'm sure we saw the other one too at some point, and it was both. What was great is that like we were on tour, and either one of the guys had the DVD, or we would stop at homies' places that had the DVD, so we'd be like hanging out with people and watching it. And Trevor's just like fucking naked all the time and shit. So like, what's it like being the new guy in Black Dahlia?
Well, actually, it was funny because hearing all the other insane tour stories that happened, especially around like 2005 with Ozfest and shit, right when Miasma was coming out and stuff, it was like, dude, that was obviously, I think, pinnacle of like insanity for these guys. Like, I mean, there could have been some carryover into the other albums and stuff, but when I got into the band, I think they all admittedly were just like, man, it's like we still have fun and stuff, but it's not the same as like when we were doing Ozfest in a van and we all took acid and we're driving down the highway and we're all fucking like listening to some song and like pissing into bottles and, just being fucking, what is it, Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas style, like just experiencing life, through chemicals and shit like that. Yep. It was very much like, hey, we're here to do a fucking serious tour, and not only that, but like you're the new guy, and it's kind of like I couldn't, show up and just be like, oh, beer bong with vodka, and then like wake up the next day and go play a show. It was like I obviously came with something to prove. It was like I absolutely was on a probationary sort of period of like, hey, like, you get to come out with us, but like play the fucking songs right, or like we're gonna can your ass. So I mean, there was a lot of goddamn anxiety with the whole like, Jesus fucking Christ, I'm filling in for Shannon Lucas, who's been like the drummer for the Black Dahlia Murder. I mean, the notable drummer. Yeah. Besides Zach Gibson, because he definitely was noted for a while with Miasma and all that stuff. Yep. But like, I'm definitely filling these gigantic shoes, and nobody knows that I'm supposed to be here, or nobody knows that I'm here to do this. Right. And it's sort of like, first impressions are a fucking must. So it's like, not only just am I working this out with the band, but I'm also doing this for the fans. And it's like, I have huge fucking expectations from the fans to be able to do this. And then on top of that, dude, I've got fucking a record label, and I've got like every other important person in the goddamn musical universe looking at me doing this shit. That's true. And dude, I'm not like, I mean, like, I've done tours and I know how to play drums and stuff, but there's nothing like being that boy from that small Wyoming town, like, or at least like coming from that area to go out and do like some national fucking shit and literally being in a band that like every single person that you know is like, they like it and they're influenced by it, and they all have something to say about it. And it's just like, dude, you're representing that. You're representing like nostalgia. You're representing the band as a musical, entity, and just like basically showing the ability of them to be able to carry on past like what's going on, and whether or not I would have held the torch after Shannon. It was still one of those, like, I'm coming in to, represent the band. And to me, this is a huge fucking deal because, like, I've been a fan for so long, and I would, like, kick myself forever if I, like, ruined this because I was an idiot and was just, like, party! You know, just, like, didn't give a flying fuck about what was happening and shit. So it was definitely like an amazing opportunity, and I just felt like I got to, do so much in such a short amount of time and see so many people. And it's like, even though I wasn't like really in the fold yet, it was just like getting to see Brendan Smalls or Brendan Small from Metalocalypse and Home Movies every day, and getting to see Gene Hoglan and getting to see Mastodon, the band, show up in their entirety at the Atlanta date, and getting to see, like, I don't even know to this day who the fuck all showed up in LA, but I'm sure that LA was just like an insane date for a lot of fucking people, because it's just like, oh yeah, big ass cable network TV show showing up, like, of course all the stars are gonna be here, and blah blah blah. And I was just like, holy fuck, like, I'm 23 years old. I've never done this shit in my life. The biggest show I've ever played with Abigail Williams was like a Morbid Angel show at the House of Blues, and that was so fucking terrible. Like, so many bad things happened that show. Oh my god, dude! Like, I hate reliving it. But, like, we had like some really bad fucking technical difficulties, and they were all on my end, where it was like, give me an iPod that has the fucking click track that starts on second 0. So that means, like, if you started on second 0, you may or may not get click 1 out of the 8 count. You might get like boop, 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 and then it's like, and then you're going for it, and it's just sort of like, fuck, like, how do I guarantee that I'm like on time with this? So just huge fucking nosedive. It was like, it was so bad. I ended up just like fucking up and train wrecking one part of a song, and we jumped back in, and it was like no problem, but there was definitely a moment of like, what the fuck just happened there? And then, like, one of my favorite drummers, Danny Walker, was in the crowd, and like, to add insult to injury, I'm like done tearing down my drums, and I go to take a pee in the fucking public bathroom, and there comes Danny Walker walking in, and I'm just like, cool, it's so nice to meet you, you fucking goddamn fuck shit, and like, it wasn't his fault, it was my fault, but like, I was just like beating myself up over it, but it was just, one of those situations of, hey, you're here representing this shit, and it's really important, and you need to do the best that you can, and like, and so I felt like pretty fucking happy with what I did, and
it sounds like you handled it admirably, dude. Like, because that's
thank you.
Like you said, for how young you were, and like kind of getting thrown into that situation, it's like, a lot of people can fold. A lot of people can't handle that kind of pressure. So it's like you said, it's not just being a musician. It's not just being able to perform on stage. It's also at that level, just me trying to put myself in your shoes. It's not a lot of people could have handled that shit. So props, man.
Yeah, well, thank you. Yeah, it was astonishing to me as well. I couldn't believe that I managed to get through it the way that I did, because I was absolutely just like dumbfounded by the whole situation. And I was just even like, how the fuck am I expecting to get through this? And it just worked, and thank God it did, because it was it's been a dream come true, and I'm really happy that I decided to put the work in when I did, and just rise to the occasion when it happened, or when it called.
Hell yeah, man. Well deserved. So obviously, the Death Clock tour sounds like a big stick out, but do you have any other like favorite tours or favorite shows that you can think of that were really like, aside from Death Clock, like holy fuck, I am on tour with this band. I never thought I'd be doing this.
Oh man, so like one of the tours that I got to do, which was awesome, was the Summer Slaughter a couple of years ago, and that was because Naveen Copperweiss was on it, and
shout out to Naveen, he's the homie.
Yeah, Naveen is fucking amazing. Like, amazing. I couldn't bring myself to bother him the whole tour.
Oh, come on.
Like, I only came and extensively like grilled him for 2 different nights or whatever, because it was just like one of those things. Okay, we've got a month, or I mean, like more than a month of shows together, and like I don't want to burn this dude out immediately, and but I like remembered being shown Animosity back, in 2007, 8, no, 2005, I want to say, 2006, something like that.
Yeah.
And I was just like blown away at how fucking technically amazing they were. And then I saw them on a tour, and then they broke up, and then he started Entheos, and it was the first time that I really got a chance to get to say hey and talk to him, as drummer to drummer, and I still feel like I didn't get a chance to really like talk to him as much as I wanted to, but I cite him as a big influence. I mean, like Animosity was so fucking sick. Like the Empire's album and the album sick, afterwards. What is it? Was it Animal? Yeah, Animal was fucking fantastic. So like that was great. We've done quite a bit of European tours, which have been amazing. We've gotten to play with so many fucking unbelievable people during European tours. Like we did one, it was right at the end of a tour back in like, I want to say 2016, 17, something like that. And we played this festival where like it was just top fucking bill musicians, and I'm like, when we were done, Stevie Wonder was playing in the main stage across from us.
What the fuck? Like, what festival was this?
Oh man, it's I'm not gonna remember the name of it.
It was Sonic Assault. He was headlining Sonic Assault.
Yeah. No, it was what is that called? Not Brutal Assault. I was thinking the
Hellfest.
No. I'm like Obscene Extreme. That was Stevie Wonder.
Wow. Okay, so it's
yeah. Like people wearing toilet seats as necklaces. The whole 9 yards. No, but
your typical Stevie Wonder fan.
Yeah, exactly. It was something in the Netherlands, and I don't remember the name of the festival, but it was absolutely unbelievable that like we played a full fucking hour and 10-minute set. Like, I mean,
whoa.
We played a headlining set in a tent, and it was like I had enough time to break down my drums and all that shit, and Stevie Wonder was playing in the tent right across from us. And then it was so crazy because like the rest of the fucking day, there was nothing insane about the lineup. It was like Nails. Nails was the only other fucking band that was playing on the festival. And me and Trevor, I was like, dude, we have to go fucking see Nails. Like, there is no way I'm gonna like spend the rest of this day not seeing Nails. So I like, we went over to the tent and watched them, and like we moshed harder than fucking anyone in that tent. Like, I think scared people to be in that tent. Like it was just like I felt bad being as aggressive as I was and thinking that like people were gonna kick my ass, in the Nails pit. But we got to see that, and we got to see Stevie Wonder, and then like the night closed out with Jack White doing his solo shit on the main stage, and that was unbelievable. And then like beyond that, we did Inferno Fest last year, and Inferno Fest is a big Norwegian
Norway.
big big Norwegian black metal kind of oriented fest, and it was like Dimmu Borgir was the headliner, to tell you something.
Sick.
So it's like them, and then like that band Art Noir.
Yeah.
And Art Noir had the bass player who is the singer as well. I think I might be totally wrong. I can't remember. I was so starstruck. But the bass player of that band is this dude named Michael Carl Ide, and he has multiple stage personas and names and affiliations with bands and stuff.
Yep.
But like, he plays in one of my absolute favorite bands called Virus from Norway, and Virus is like one of the weirdest fucking, like, it sounds like Black Sabbath if you were on drugs and also sick and had a fever dream. And
okay.
it's like really bizarre. Yeah, it's really bizarre rock and roll, sort of like experimental rock and roll, and with like experimental ideas of like vocals and just the musicianship and stuff. The musicianship is top notch, and it's unbelievable to hear like three people, just like drums, bass, guitar, coming together, playing like really intricate, awesome stuff where everything just really complements each other, and it's like perfectly done. And I got to meet him and get a picture with him and get an autograph, and that was fucking amazing, because like he doesn't tour or do very much with his bands, because back in 2005 he took a bunch of acid apparently and jumped out of a fucking like 4-story window.
Whoa.
Landed on his feet and broke his legs super badly to the point where he's permanently on crutches now. And I don't think that he really does a lot of touring because of that, but also because he just happens to be in a lot of obscure bands that just don't have like a shitload of notoriety. Right. So I was like super fucking happy to get an opportunity to meet him and just like, you know, what is it, like ambush him and ask him for an autograph. Like, yeah, I mean, because
punish him like Trevor coined the term.
Absolutely punish. I walked into the room. He was literally sitting there at like a conference table, just kind of like, whoo, okay, like I get to sit down and just like chill
like,
out for a second.
Just put his
like,
crutches
hey.
down and then you.
Yeah, and I walk in the room and I'm like, hey, I just saw you sit down, but I gotta tell you that you're one of my favorite musicians. And he's just like, oh, really? Okay, well, that's cool, I guess, but like, who the fuck are you?
Yeah, with the European kind of thing where they just like will tell you exactly what they're thinking too. No,
exactly.
No sugarcoating at all.
Luckily, he wasn't like, I just finished a show and I don't know who the fuck you are, so get the hell out of here. He was very accommodating, and he was, you know, at least like allowing me to shower him with the compliments that I wanted to, and get the autograph and picture that I wanted to, and left him alone promptly afterwards.
Yeah.
So.
Well, sick. It's cool that you got to do that both ways, because a lot of people think about like, oh, you know, these guys in these big bands, they get to tour with all these other big bands, and that's probably like their favorite thing. And then a lot of the time it's like, no, I got to see this one obscure band at this festival that we played that never plays shows, and that made me way more excited than like most of the other big bands we got to play with.
Absolutely. And I mean, like, I think as well, my band has to listen to me being like, and this band is playing today, and like, I absolutely have to go see them, and like, I'm prioritizing going to see this band, and like, blah 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 blah. And then like, you know, people will be in the group chat later on like, what are you guys doing? And I'm like, I'm going to see this band, I'm at this stage, blah blah blah. And then it's like the 7th time I've told everybody I'm going to see X band or whatever, and it's just like, I can't contain my excitement. It's just like, it's so awesome to get to be billed in a way that you know, get to perform with those bands, and you get to just be backstage with them and all that other stuff. And the only bad part is getting way too fucking crunk before you get to meet them or whatever, you know, like just being being that guy who's like,
impression at first.
Exactly, not knowing how to articulate anything that you're trying to say to them because you're so goddamn wasted that like it's just coming out as like, I really like you, and you guys did the the song I can't remember, but it's got the stuff, and I love that.
What's great is you know for sure you've been on the other side of that too, so it's like you know exactly what that looks like on the other side.
I hate it, and I have to absolutely understand that, like, okay, you've been here before. You're totally that idiot to, like, so many people, so just chill out and, you know, like, understand that that's going to be your future.
I think, like, if you get it, you're allowed to give it, right? Like, if you can handle it from people and, like, you do it with grace, then it's like, I'm going to do this to some people because fuck it. Like, karma, I'm giving some back, so...
Exactly. And it's just like you never know when the fuck you're going to see people again and whatever. And I mean, that goes for everybody in your life. It's sort of like, hey, man, if you get that opportunity to go fucking spill your guts to somebody, don't fucking wait. It's just like, get it over with and try to be as, I don't know, like, tactful as possible, I guess.
Yeah. Cool. Well, I'm going to check a couple of questions here in the comments. We got a lot of movement since we last checked, and then... we will get ready to wrap. I've had you here for quite a little while. It's been fantastic, actually. So we've got... so Joe Beasley, he says, love the new album. Who's your biggest influence on drums? If you can name one.
Ooh, that's... dude, I can never name one. I can't name one of anything that is, like, my favorite. Like, and I think that's rightfully so. I think that everybody should have a spectrum of stuff that they appreciate for different reasons, but oh man, I would say like the top 3 drummers that I really appreciate at this moment, maybe even 4. I would say I love Ben Kohler from Converge because Ben has a shitload of incredible post-hardcore influences, and then he also has... Wait 1 second, I'm looking for the charger to my...
Yep.
Okay, sorry. I'm trying to get the charger to my computer because it died. I would say Ben Kohler because of the post-hardcore chops that he has. For a long time I've loved fucking Converge. And I think that like doing things with a 4-piece setup, like 1 kick drum and 1 tom and floor tom, is like the best like example of what you can do as a drummer. Period. Like, it doesn't matter whether or not you're a death metal drummer or whatever. It's like what you can do with a limited setup says a lot about you as a drummer. But I like Ben Kohler. Bron Daler from Mastodon has been a huge fucking influence for me since Remission. Remission is like my fucking top metal album. Like, I actually heard March of the Fire Ants from the reboot of Headbangers Ball, and then I heard Crusher Destroyer from the Tony Hawk's Underground soundtrack. And then, like, anything that's on fucking Tony Hawk's Pro Skater soundtrack, like, you've just sold your like, fame, and you've gotten a fan base. Like, it's not that, like, obviously I like them because I like the series. It's really just, like, they know how to select a fucking playlist. It's unbelievable. And so Ben Kohler, Bron Daler, I would say, Naveen for sure.
Nice.
Because Animosity was just such an incredible album. I mean, Empires was such an incredible album for me, and I mean, Animal was such an incredible album, and it's just like everything that he's done. He took like death metal and really like came up with such an incredible way to like write technical drums and such a stylistic way. And then the last drummer I would say is Kai Hato. Kai Hato being the drummer from Rotten Sound, Nightwish, and Winter Sun.
Yeah.
You wouldn't know it from Winter Sun or Nightwish. I mean, like, Winter Sun somewhat, Nightwish maybe not.
Right.
Rotten Sound, Murder Works, and there was one other album that he did. Fucking beast, dude. There is a video on YouTube for the song Obey, and it is from the album Murder Works, and it's a live video of him where someone's standing right in front of him with a fucking camera, video phone, and like he just
killing it.
Is like he's killing it, but on top of that, dude, he's taking like a genre like grind and just building on it so fucking much more than like any other drummer I've ever heard, where it's just like you take this sort of punky post-hardcore genre that could just be like, and it's like that's all you have to do, and then like throw some blasts on the crash, and that's about it. But it's like Kai fucking like reinvented the entire goddamn genre, where he just like, you know, writes parts that like nobody else would do, and just basically puts this mindset in there that is so goddamn like special to the genre, and really like makes you rethink what the genre is, and just makes it more interesting than what it started out as. And like he is, you know, those guys, for those reasons, just basically being outside the box dudes, are my favorites.
Nice. Well, I'm gonna hook you up because I feel like this needs to happen. So I don't know if you know, but Naveen and Cheney from Entheos have a podcast. It's called the Copper Crab Podcast, and you need to go on there with them. So we're gonna make that happen.
Definitely. I would fucking love to do that, and hopefully it isn't a solid like hour to 2 hours of me, you know, S&ing his D, because I definitely have plenty to do that with, or plenty of material to, you know, work with on that. But yeah, it's great. I'm glad to see that they're doing you know, a podcast and getting their friends and influences and stuff on there, and I would love to just like talk to them, because I actually didn't get a whole lot of a chance to talk to them while we were on tour with them. And so yeah, it would be cool to just break the monotony of the, you know, quarantine with a good interview.
There you go. They inspired me for sure. So again, shout out to them. I did an episode with them recently that came out today. If whoever's listening, watching wants to check it out. Cool. So last thing that we will leave our viewers and watchers with from you, brother. So what are you jamming right now? Like, what are maybe some newer bands you can put some people on?
So the weird thing about me right now is that I'm not like listening to a lot of metal at the moment, or at least like super current stuff. I have been more and more in the last year or two getting into the noise rock genre. I love shit like for older fans like Jesus Lizard and the Melvins and Unwound and Daughters. Daughters has been getting a shitload more like notoriety in that scene, because I feel like they have developed their sound into more of a mature sound than what they were doing before, where they were more chaotic, sort of grindy shit, and what people would label as like white belt grind, which I find very offensive, and I'm sure they do too. But like, it's just sort of one of those things where it's like, dude, it's, I don't know, like, it's not necessarily a scene thing. It is what it is, but like, you know, I think it falls in line with kind of like how Black Dahlia Murder gets lumped into being a deathcore band. And it's like, okay, well, we came out with a bunch of these bands and we're like, you know, doing things that sound maybe similar to what they're doing, but we don't have those elements of like a deathcore band. We don't have breakdowns. We don't have like, you know, anything that really, like, I mean, Trevor's not doing like that, you know, like kind of vocals and shit. We've been true like the entire time. Like, I don't think there's ever been like a weird, like, please accept our crossover, you know, crazy shit. You know,
it's been sick. And sorry to cut you off, but what's been sick is that, like, you know, every time I've seen you guys, the crowd is so mixed. It's always the old school dudes in their fucking like jean jackets with the patches and shit, and then it's also the newer, younger metalheads too. Where that I think is what's so special about Black Dahlia, is because you guys are one of those like bridge bands for the older guys, or older folks, we'll say, and then the newer kind of people just getting into shows or getting into metal or whatever it is. Like, you guys are that in between, which was always a goal for myself personally as well, to like write music that can really be that like, bridge gapper, if you will.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that we are always looking for the respect of our peers and the admiration or respect of, new fans all the time. And it's just like, we as a band who have so many influences and so many different bands that we respect and look up to, it's just sort of like, it sucks to get tossed into categories that we don't feel we rightfully belong in. It's like we want to have that chance, and it's like, dude, I understand everybody's got their preconceived notions of certain bands and genres and things like that, and it's like, yeah, we're not necessarily doing shit as hard as like Bloodbath or like writing things that totally identify with the hardest of the hard shit, but like we still want to write stuff that is respectable to the fans that like that stuff. And it's like, it doesn't mean that, if you like Bloodbath, you absolutely have to like us, or if you like fucking Nails, you have to like us, or whatever. It's a fucking free country. Everybody can like whatever the fuck they want, but we definitely take many different influences and just really appreciate the support and the admiration of different fans from different genres and fans of different bands and stuff like that. And we want to write something that hopefully is worthy of their respect and whatnot. And so like I'm sorry, what the fuck was the question again? I'm like, I'm a little too far into this
into the verminous slime.
The verminous slime, yeah. Yeah, what was the question again?
No, it's all good. You hit it on the head, man. It was if you had any suggestions on bands for folks to check out, and you kind of just went into what you were listening to recently.
Oh, thanks, John. I'm not done yet then. So I'm listening to a bunch of noise rock shit. Some of my favorites, I mean, like, the influential shit of the noise rock genre, if you don't know, is, like, fucking Jesus Lizard, the Melvins, Unwound, and Daughters being one of the newer guys to come into it. They've definitely been crafting a weird sound. They've been evolving for a long time. Things are not quite, what you expect from them as what you've heard back in 2006, something like that.
Yeah.
But the other bands, like Piss Jeans, they're definitely a band that's like, Piss Jeans, dude. I mean, like, you can't think of that name and not understand the like heaviness and the fucking disgustingness of that band. It's just basically like, you pissed yourself, you gotta walk home, and you're gonna be irritated by those Piss Jeans, and that's what the rock and roll is. And then you've got like bands like Gouge Away. Holy shit. Gouge Away, I think they're a Florida band. If you don't know them, dude, oh my god, they are fucking awesome. They kind of ride the line between the noise rock and post-hardcore, where it's very screamy, very like in your face fucking heavy shit. And they're kind of like they have like a sort of vegan message, and like they're very much like anti-animal testing and veganism and all that stuff, and definitely not taking that away from them or anything. It's just, it is what it is. And then there's another band called Super Union. It's another band that's definitely in the same vein as them, and has another female vocalist. And I'm not saying that like this is a female fronted like genre band. Oh my god, like, please don't take it that way. Like, I just really enjoy these bands with the like grungy attitude that they have. And then Carnation, they're a band that is fucking incredible. It's very heavy, like old school death metal blended with like Bloodbath sort of death metal, like
sick.
So it's very creative. It's got very old school influences, but it's like fucking sick songwriting, really good ideas, really good rhythmic ideas, and it switches gears all the time. Like, tons of fucking amazing shit. We got to play with them on 70,000 Tons of Metal in
Oh,
2017, and I heard about them then, and I just decided to check them out on a whim, and I am not sorry because, like, they are by far one of the fucking sickest bands to come out in the last, like, year or two, by far. And then Temple of Void, they're a Detroit-based band, and they've been grinding for a while. Fucking sick shit. It's such, like, heavy, decimating, fucking old school death with, like, weird, spacey, vibey shit that goes on in between, and just kind of, like, flows outside the box, but, like, you're getting some really tough, like, riffs with vocals, and it's heavy as fuck. I heavily suggest that you check them out. Then Suffering Hour, they're a black metal band. I can't remember where they're from, but they are really, like, pushing the confines of the black metal box and writing a lot of really weirdo, cool, interesting black metal shit. And I was saying on the interview that or the guest DJ thing that I did on Gimme Metal this past week, it will be repeated on Gimme Metal at the end of the week if you guys want to check that out. But I was saying that black metal is such an interesting, cool genre that really is, like, pushing the envelope for modern heavy music in general, because I feel like it came from a genre that was very simplistic in the beginning, and, you know, like, needed some kind of I don't know, like, it needed a lot of outside, like, influence in order to continue and maintain the creativity that it's getting right now. And, like, there are so many bands that I would have never guessed are really pushing the envelope for that genre, more so than, like, death metal or grind or anything. It's really, like, they're, you know, creating more than I've seen with modern metal in a long time. And I think that that's absolutely amazing to just have a genre that's unapologetic and very heavy and very, like, you know, into redefining the boundaries of what that genre is. And so I think, like, Suffering Hour is one of those bands that just, like, comes in and is unrelenting and scary and fucking, like, heavy and just, like, carries that torch of, like, creativity on to the next shit that will happen in the next, like, several years or whatever. And so, like, I love it. Like, get into your black metal stuff. And then finally, one of the other bands that I just finally found the other night was totally unexpected. This band called Friendship. All caps. Friendship.
Okay.
From fucking Japan. And it's, like, power violence. And, dude, they're on Southern Lord Records, and holy fuck, they are heavy as shit. Like, I would have never guessed a name like that would lead to, like, being the heaviest band in the world, but, like, Friendship, not only is it great for your mental health, but it's also great for just, like, wanting to crush everyone around you.
Excellent marketing tactic, rather. Like,
yeah, exactly. If there's anything we're lacking during this coronavirus quarantine, it's friendship.
Yeah.
So I hope that you can spread friendship to all your friends, no matter what continent. And
I'm mad I didn't call my band Friendship.
There was a T-shirt that they're sold out of that I really want right now that just says Friendship, and
Amazing.
I'm like, dude, that would be so fucking awesome to just walk around and everybody's like, wow, you're really into strong bonds with people.
Look at this guy. He cares about the people he loves. What a great guy.
I'm like, yeah, represent. People you talk to on Skype. People you meet in the streets. It doesn't matter. Keep a 6-foot distance and wear your mask and hit your friends up on Skype. Let them know that you still love them. Friendship.
Amazing. Well, dude, you just gave me a great idea, too. I feel like with these podcasts, I need to put together a, like, playlist for folks. So just, like, episode 9, Alan Cassidy, and then get all the bands you just talked about and fucking spread the word, and I think that might be sick. So we're going to start that with you if you're cool with that.
Oh, absolutely. I will totally give
Send this to me.
More artists than you probably want for that playlist.
Fuck it, let's do it. Well, Alan, dude, thank you fucking so much for coming on. I can't thank you enough again for again coming on the show, talking Verminous with us, fucking showing us how passionate you are about drums and music in general. It's been a real treat, and I learned a lot about Black Dahlia. I learned a whole lot. I learned about like 37 bands in about an hour, so it's pretty sick.
Hey, well, dude, I appreciate you asking me to be on your podcast and taking me away from the monotony of just sitting in my house every day, trying to, do important shit, or at least what I think is important.
You consider important.
Yeah, and just, adding to the general quality of our well-being.
Hell yeah, dude. Well, I can't wait to see you guys once this shit's all over. So whenever you're in Massachusetts, Worcester, Boston, whatever, I'll be there, and we'll have a slime back. Well, I don't know, whatever you want to call that drink you were drinking.
Oh hell yeah, yeah! It's just pickle juice and vodka. I'm hoping that like the bars carry that shit. It's a little bit more like preservative than having cream on hand. So
put it in the rider, dude. Put it in the rider. You're in good shape.
Exactly. I have a fucking pickle jar like this big. So like I'm almost out of pickle juice at this point, but like it's supplied me with enough to really enjoy myself.
Killer, man. Well, thanks again, and we will catch up. Have a great night, brother.
Yes.
Take
Cheers.
care. Cheers, man. All right, everybody. Well, thank you very much for hanging out with us on another Wednesday evening. Again, you just caught, if you're just watching right now, you caught the tail end of episode 9 featuring Alan Cassidy of the Black Dahlia Murder. They just put out a sick new record called Verminous. Make sure you go pick that shit up. I am going to be posting this stream on YouTube. It'll go up on all of the really sick podcasting, streaming shit as well once I'm not lazy and I edit it and I upload it and all that fun stuff. And then we're gonna start the big shred playlist with Alan's playlist of bands that he just suggested you guys check out. So it's really something I've been wanting to do with the podcast as well, which is you getting to know your favorite folks from these bands and also what they're listening to. And I've been already put on to quite a few new bands, so I'm pretty stoked about it. So if you are around again next Wednesday at 7 p.m., come hang out on, again, my Facebook page, the Abiotic Facebook page, YouTube, or Twitch. Again, that's twitch.tv/AbioticJohn. And again, this has been the Big Shred Podcast. I hope to see you guys next week. Peace.